Part 72. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 711. How can it be possible? If he gave up, he would definitely be very disappointed with himself. He had put so much effort and resources into himself, but in the end, he still lost to others easily. I never want to see his disappointed expression. Even if you die in battle, you will never admit defeat. Having made up his mind, Xiaochuanzi looked determined. And the other side? The young master of the Changsheng family glanced at Xiaochuanzi indifferently, and slowly drew out his sword. If you can do this, I underestimate you. But your good luck has come to an end. Becoming my enemy will be the most regretful decision you will ever make in your life. Are you ready to die? But then, before Xiaochuanzi could speak, the young master of the Changsheng family changed the subject. However, if you give me the thing in this secret realm, I can spare your life. From now on, you and I will owe nothing to each other. How about it? According to the elders in the family, it was written by a taboo being. Not to mention the inscrutable content inside, its existence itself is a very powerful rule, which has brought many benefits. No matter what, he couldn't give up. Impossible. Xiaochuanzi refused without thinking. After getting the things, she took a look at them. Then, he immediately recognized that it was something Suliang had written casually. In fact, it is of no use at all, it is all a mess, and even the sentences do not make sense. It's just that the words used are a bit mysterious and difficult to understand, but even after understanding it, it won't have much effect. As for why Xiaochuanzi knows so clearly. This stuff was written by Suliang in front of her a few years ago. For Xiaochuanzi, this is nothing more than waste paper at home. But even so, if you say I will give it to you, I will give it to you. Why? Doesn't that prove that you have given in? Never. Then, the young master of the Changsheng family was very determined to get this treasure, and Xiaochuanzi was also very determined not to give it to him. Of course, a great war broke out here. However, Xiaochuanzi, who was originally not as strong as the young master, because the losses in the previous battle were too great, now he is no match for the young master of the Changsheng family. It only took a moment to fight. Xiaochuanzi's body was covered with scars. Several sword wounds on his body were so deep that his bones were visible. He also had serious internal injuries, and his strength was very low. This is the first time she has been so seriously injured. Puff. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, Xiaochuanzi frowned and looked at the young master of the Changsheng family in front of him, feeling a little anxious and worried. It doesn't matter how serious the injury is. Although Suliang has been doting on him all these years, he has not suffered hardships since he was a child. Xiaochuanzi doesn't care that much. Even if she died in battle today, she wouldn't even feel anything. However, if he died in battle, would he be disappointed? I like him very much, but now this feeling has not been expressed, this feeling has not been let him know. How could he die here? Isn't he just the young master of the Changsheng family? What does it matter? How could he let himself be defeated? All kinds of thoughts were surging in his heart, which actually made Xiaochuanzi seem to have some strength appearing out of thin air. Reluctantly standing up, Xiaochuanzi continued to fight with the young master of the Changsheng family. But this time, after a few moves, Xiaochuanzi, who was already at the end of his strength, was unable to dodge, and his heart was cut off by a sword. This moment, Xiaochuanzi felt as if the whole world had become silent, and everything she had experienced in this life flashed before her eyes again bit by bit. In the end, he settled on a face with a gentle smile. Suliang, I can never see you again, and I can never fully tell you what I'm thinking. But, this seems good. If I really told you, you might be very lonely after I die. Is that a pity? Why not, just let me leave with this secret forever. Although I am a little willful, you will definitely forgive me, right? Vaguely. The figure that seemed to be engraved into his soul seemed to appear in front of him. With a smile on his lips, Xiaochuanzi slowly closed his eyes. And at the same time, seeing the lifeless little dumpling, the young master of the Changsheng family breathed a sigh of relief and planned to go forward and find the secret book. He also didn't expect that Xiaochuanzi, who seemed to be so different from him in cultivation, could be so powerful. Even if he won in the end, he had to pay a huge price. But at this moment, his eyes were spinning for a while, and when he recovered again, he had already appeared in his home. At the same time, a voice sounded in his ears. I'm keeping you here to train this girl, so get lost. Listening to these words, I remembered Xiaochuanzi's extraordinary fighting power just now. The young master of the Changsheng family trembled, feeling as if he had kicked a huge iron plate. The other side. Appearing in front of Xiaochuanzi, Suliang waved his hand and took Xiaochuanzi back home. He reached out and fished it out in the void. He took Xiaochuanzi's soul in his hand and put it back. He took out an elixir and fed it to Xiaochuanzi. In an instant, Xiaochuanzi's injuries had completely recovered, and his whole body was completely restored to life, becoming the same as before. But this is not enough. After all, she was defeated and fled, and her origin was damaged. If she just woke up like this, it would be of no benefit to her. If that's the case. Suliang gently tapped Xiaochuanzi's forehead, and a piece of nirvana was passed on to him. Meditate carefully and practice well. Suliang warned, and then he stayed by the side. I don't know how long it took. Suddenly there was a flame burning on Xiaochuanzi on the bed. Immediately, a beautiful figure jumped out from it. It was Xiaochuanzi, who had been reborn from nirvana, even more beautiful, more amazingly talented, and highly cultivated. He jumped straight into Suliang's arms and hugged Suliang tightly. The little dumpling's voice was soft and waxy. I'm back. Well, welcome back. The darkness in front of him gradually receded, and Suliang opened his eyes with an inexplicable expression. If I guessed correctly, the little girl named Xiaochuanzi in the simulation just now should be Bai, right? Was such a terrifying white man so cute when he was a child? So what happened to make her become like this? And the self in the simulation is actually a taboo existence. An ancient taboo, and the only taboo. This origin is so big that it is simply scary. From a literal point of view, it seems to be an emperor-level existence, even more mysterious and unpredictable than the emperor level. That being the case, how could he become what he is now when he already has such a personality and can be called immortal? Thinking of the mission about his origin that the system had mentioned before, Suliang fell into deep thought. Unlike previous simulations. After this simulation, it seems that there are not many mysteries left. Just one simulation has revealed a lot of fog. But it always makes people feel unbelievable. And vaguely, Suliang could feel that behind the seemingly peaceful daily life in the simulation, there seemed to be the biggest secret hidden. I vaguely remember that in the simulation, I seemed to have been holding on to one idea. Let the girl end her own immortality. But the girl seems to have secretly fallen in love. Will this be the key to the simulation? Frowning in thought, Suliang shook his head, feeling unsure. Forget it, let's think about these things later. The most urgent task now is to think about how to deal with Bai Yi. Chapter 606 Chapter 605, Everything I did was just to exchange for your return. Bai Yi has been staying here for a while, what does she want to do? Suliang couldn't get anything out of Bai Yi's mouth, and it seemed like he couldn't get any clues from the simulation. Facing a man in white who was suspected of being the emperor, Suliang and others could do nothing. In terms of force, it's not your opponents at all, right? It really gives me a bit of a headache. With a sigh, Suliang sat up and took a look at the sky outside. It seems to be done already. Is it because the simulation involves a forbidden being and the Emperor? I always feel that the simulation time is a little too long. Shaking his head and throwing away all the inexplicable thoughts in his mind, Suliang stood up and planned to go outside to take a look. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 712. None of my ladies seemed to be in the room, and I didn't know what they were doing. You couldn't have made breakfast for yourself, right? Think about it carefully, why are you still looking forward to it? Thinking in his mind, Suliang opened the door. Then, at a glance, he saw the ladies of his family sitting together in the courtyard outside the room, slumped on chairs. Rolling her eyes, breathing weakly, and looking livid, her ladies looked like they had been poisoned. How is this going? Suliang was immediately stunned and almost wanted to fight Bai Yi. In this Beatty city, the only one who can attack his own ladies is who else but the man in white? But then, he saw Bai sitting among his ladies, smiling and waving to him. And in front of Bai Yi, breakfast was prepared and placed on the table, looking extremely sumptuous. There were indeed signs of being touched, but not much, almost as if it had not been eaten. After looking at the bowls and chopsticks in front of his ladies, and then at the white clothes beside him, Suliang seemed to understand something at this moment. These breakfasts are probably made by Bai, right? I'm afraid my ladies are like this because they ate breakfast cooked in white clothes. Good guy, it's like being poisoned. Is Bai Yi's skill so terrifying? I vaguely remember that during the simulation, Bai Yi seemed to have made some food. Subconsciously, Suliang turned around and wanted to run away. His ladies had already verified something, so why did he come to seek death? But it was too late. Before Suliang could take action, he was already caught by Bai Yi. Suliang, come here quickly, I made breakfast for you. Bai Yi waved to Suliang, very happy and excited. Come and eat quickly, I've been cooking for a long time. Okay, okay. The corners of Suliang's mouth twitched and he moved over bit by bit, very reluctantly. Although I haven't tasted it yet, I saw that my ladies looked like this, and they even showed sympathetic expressions towards me. How could Suliang not guess it? But it's one thing to guess, it's another thing entirely to be unable to resist. And watched Suliang sit next to him little by little. There was a touch of disappointment in Bai Yi's smiling eyes. But this disappointment only passed away in a flash, and even Suliang couldn't notice it. And moment. Bai Yi adjusted his mentality and said with a smile. Come on, try this. I made this specially for you. It's your favorite. Yeah, okay, okay. Suliang nodded hurriedly, but then he frowned slightly. The food Bai Yi brought him was not only not his favorite, but it was already considered his least favorite. Every time I see it, I feel as if I am tired of eating it every day. Although it is delicious, I don't want to eat it at all. But, after all, it was a white clothespin. Suliang couldn't refuse, so he forced a smile and said, well, let me try it. Then, stuffed it into his mouth. Even though I ate it, I couldn't hide the feeling of reluctance. Looking at this scene, the disappointment in Bai Yi's eyes became more and more obvious. There are already two differences. If it's really you, no one will force you not to do something you don't want to do, and you won't care what others think. So, if it were you, you would have left long ago if you didn't want to eat what I cooked. And it's obviously something you like to eat so much, especially if it's made by me. Why do you feel so reluctant when you eat it? And the other side. At this moment, Suliang felt like he was about to suffocate. It's something I don't like to eat, and the taste made by Bai Yi is really a bit too strange. Just one bite made Suliang almost vomit. Why is there such unpalatable food? Suliang finally understood how his ladies felt. This smell really made people feel like they were being poisoned. How does it taste? Bai Yi asked expectantly. Very, very good. Suliang forced a smile. It's not because Bai Yi is so powerful that he deliberately pleases her. Suliang just couldn't bear to attack her. Seeing the expectant look in the girl like Bai Yi's eyes, Suliang couldn't bear to refuse. Really? Just like it? Bai nodded lightly, but a trace of disappointment flashed through his eyes again. It was obviously the first time you ate the food I made, and you commented that it tasted terrible. But why is it that something with the same taste is now mentioned as delicious? Really? Are you still not you? After reluctantly eating everything Bai Yi made, Suliang leaned on the chair and remained speechless. Why does it taste so bad? It's not the feeling of all kinds of flavors bursting out in your mouth, but the ultimate in a certain taste and direction. Sweet is the ultimate sweetness, so sweet that your teeth hurt, and salty is the ultimate salty taste, so salty that it even feels a bit bitter. There is really no way to eat this. Under Bai Yi's kind smile, Suliang reluctantly ate everything on the table, feeling like he was going to die soon. He and his ladies looked at each other, and they all looked at each other in silence. Qin Benjiao and others looked at Suliang with a little more sympathy. They were already like this after just one bite, not to mention that Suliang had finished eating them all. Come on, Lang Jun, you can do it. Does it taste okay? Bai asked with a smile, as if he didn't feel that what he made was delicious at all. Ahem, it's okay. Well, the taste is indeed unique. Suliang sat up, struggled for a long time, and then said reluctantly. Being able to come up with these words to praise is the result of Suliang's hard work. Even he couldn't think of what to say to Bai Yi. Well, as long as you like it. Bai Yi smiled and nodded, then suddenly the topic changed. How about I make it for you at noon? Ahem, this, I don't need this anymore, right? Suliang quickly refused. Are you kidding? If you eat Bai Yi's food again, you will die here, right? However, Bai Yi shook his head. It doesn't matter, I've been bored anyway, so I just made something for you to eat, which can be regarded as killing time, how about it? As soon as these words came out, Suliang really couldn't refuse. After thinking and struggling for a long time, Suliang reluctantly agreed. Okay, as long as you're happy. The words have come to this point, if you continue to refuse, it will make others sad. So, just agree to it for now, it's just a meal, there's always a way to deal with it. Suliang's thoughts were spinning rapidly, and he had already begun to think about whether he should temporarily close off his taste buds. And the other side. Listening to Suliang's words, the disappointment in Bai Yi's eyes became more intense. What? Why is there such a big change? Obviously after you ate something I made for the first time, you never let me make something for you again. It was only after I proved my cooking skills for a long time that you allowed me. You won't worry about whether I will be unhappy at all, that's not something you would think about. And now you. Although I worry about whether I am unhappy, this makes me very happy. But this is not you at all. No matter how good it is, what's the use if it's not you? Standing up and forcing a smile, Bai Yi said to Suliang. I'm busy in the kitchen, you can do whatever you want. Beatty City is so big, you can just wander around. Say it. Before Suliang and others could react, Bai Yi turned around and left, quickly disappearing, leaving Suliang and the others looking at each other in shock. How about going to Beatty City? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 713. Suliang suggested. Although they have been in Beatty City for a few days, they have never had the opportunity to take a stroll in Beatty City. When I arrived for the first time, I was full of doubts and naturally not in the mood to go shopping. The next time Suliang was taken out by Baiyi, Suliang and the girls mainly wanted to avoid Baiyi to discuss something, and they didn't have time to hang out at all. Such a magical place, and it is considered safe for the time being, but if you don't take a good stroll, something will be wrong. Then, after Suliang and others made some preparations, they set off directly to Beatty City. However, they did not notice that a beautiful figure slowly emerged on the sky not far behind them. It was the white clothes who followed. The beautiful eyes stared at Suliang. Baiyi bit her lips lightly, with a tangled expression. Although I was already pretty sure in my heart, I still couldn't help but want to be sure. What if you pretend to be different just because you are in front of me? It's not like you've never done this to make fun of others. In any case, please let me confirm whether it is you. After waiting for so long, I am no longer in a hurry. We should figure it out eventually, right? Then, when Suliang and others were wandering around the city, Baiyi also followed behind. In the city, Qin Binjiao and Tao Yaoyao each held one of Suliang's arms, letting their arms sink into the peak, and took Suliang shopping, very happy. Although each of them wanted the position next to Suliang, there were only 2 positions after all. There were so many people that they could only sort them out. Qin Binjiao, as the theoretical head of the palace, naturally does her duty, and Tao Yaoyao is the youngest girl. Although she is the same as Mu Qingqian, compared to Mu Qingqian's maturity, Tao Yaoyao is much stupider. Although she often seeks death, this girl is still very cute. If Tao Yaoyao hadn't sought death, Wan Qing and others would not have been willing to bully her. After all, who would be willing to bully a stupid, innocent, and cute little witch? Sulang, I want to eat candied haws on a stick. Qin Binjiao looked at the candied haws passing by, took Suliang's arm and said coquettishly. This scene, caught in Baiyi's eyes, aroused her interest. She seemed to have done something like this a long time ago, right? I was still very young at that time. Although I had already started to fall in love and had secret feelings, I actually didn't know anything, so I had nothing to avoid. I always liked to cling to him and act coquettishly while holding him. Once, he wanted to eat candied haws on a stick. How did he do it at that time? With a wave of his hand, a candied haws of sugar cane was stuffed into his hand. And after he went out to travel later, even if he was always by his side, no matter how coquettishly he acted, he would never do such a thing. Facing his own request, he would just stare at him without saying a word. Will it be the same now? Next moment, Baiyi saw it with his own eyes. Suliang touched Qin Binjiao's head with a doting look on his face, then turned back and bought her a bunch of candied haws. Then, he even uses verbal communication to feed him. Seeing the sweet look of the 2 of them, Baiyi clenched her gold teeth and clasped her jade hands. Why can't this person be me? Why, I have never been treated like this, but they can. Tell me, where am I worse than them? Even if this is not you yet, even if you don't remember anything, why even so, it's still not me. But then, there was a sickly smile on Baiyi's face. It does not matter. Sooner or later it will be mine. It will always be mine. So, at this moment, I am not in a hurry. At this moment, she was dangerous and crazy. Qin Binjiao ate the candied haws bought by her husband and felt satisfied. Of course candied haws are delicious, but the degree of deliciousness is also limited. Just because my husband bought it for me, it tastes even more delicious. But for some reason, Qin Binjiao suddenly felt a chill. It was as if she was being targeted by some ferocious beast, which made her tremble subconsciously and look around in confusion. Seeing that he couldn't see anything wrong at all, he scratched his head in confusion. "What's wrong?" Suliang saw the change in his wife and asked curiously. "It's nothing, it's probably just an illusion." Qin Benjao shook her head and put this inexplicable feeling behind her. "No matter what he does, since my husband is by my side now, I am not afraid of any danger at all. My husband will protect himself well. Of course, with his own strength, he can also protect himself well. There is nothing more important than being with your husband." Qin Benjao leaned her little head on Suliang's shoulder, very happy. He has been following Suliang and others, watching Suliang and others playing, hanging out, showing affection, and being sweet. The silver teeth in white clothes were clenched tightly, almost to the point of separation from the walls of envy. "Damn it, why can they do this but not me? Why, I must hide behind and keep watching. Obviously, it's something that belongs directly to you. Why, you have obviously taken him away from you once, why do you show up again? Moreover, why are there more and more?" Bai Yi sighed and waved his hand to put his arrangement into action, and he followed suit. Next moment, in front of Suliang and others, a battle suddenly broke out. A man and a woman were described as miserable, with sad and angry expressions, and scars all over their bodies. They were chased by several men in black, fighting and fleeing all the way. When they were passing by Suliang and others, they finally fell to the ground and could not get up again. "Guys, please go quickly. Those people are here to find us. As long as you stay away from us, nothing will happen." The girl staggered to the boy's side and said to Suliang and others with red eyes, "For the two of us to end up like this, we can only blame ourselves. You really shouldn't be involved." As soon as these words came out, Qin Benjao and others immediately fell down. Of course they could see that what these two people said was sincere. They were both so concerned about a group of passers-by even when they were facing a disaster. I'm afraid they were all kind people. The answer to who is chasing them has already been revealed. It's okay, don't be afraid. With us here, if you are innocent, no one can hurt you. Qin Benjao helped the girl up and comforted her softly. She is a kind fairy. When she was in Tiandao sect, she saved people in the city at the foot of the mountain countless times. Now that things have happened to her, Qin Benjao will certainly not ignore the fact that she can save people at will. Mu Kinkian's frightened dream was even more like this, and Tao Yao Yao, a little witch, looked like she was fighting evil to the end, which Suliang didn't expect. Listening to the girl talking about their experiences intermittently, Suliang frowned and felt something was wrong. The time and place where these two people appeared was just too coincidental, as if they were specifically coming towards me. And this is Beatty City, a section that Bai Yi intercepted from the long river of time and space. It does not belong to the present, past or future. How did these two people get chased here? It doesn't make sense at all. But as my girlfriend said, the matter is already at this point and they have been involved, so they might as well just deal with it. No matter how high your cultivation level is, you still have to have kind thoughts and see through the cold and warmth of the world but still have passion for it. This is also a good thing. Suliang will naturally not stop his wife. Then, after hearing the story of this young girl, I confirmed that they are indeed good people, and those men in black have a good background but have done all kinds of bad things. Suliang and the others did not hold back anymore, and directly knocked the men in black away, driving them away completely, never daring to come back again. Immediately, after giving the boy and girl some healing things, they parted ways. But they didn't see that after the separation, the young girl seemed to wake up from a dream, looking at the scars on her body and the pill in her hand with a confused look. They are even more unfamiliar to each other around them. The same goes for those men in black. They looked at themselves who were seriously injured in confusion, and then looked at each other wearing the same clothes, with a trace of panic and strangeness flashing in their eyes. This scene is really weird. At this moment, the figure in white clothes emerged from the sky, looked at Suliang's back, and sighed. The scene just now was indeed planned by her from beginning to end. Both the men in black and the boys and girls were forcibly instilled with memories by White and acted according to her script. Naturally, she did this to test Suliang and confirm her suspicions. But this result was not what she wanted. "You used to not let me take care of this," Bai murmured softly. "Even you yourself don't actually care about this. You have already seen the strife in this world. But now, why are you stepping in to help again? Although they are strangers to each other, they help out just because of morality and kindness. The real you wouldn't be able to do such a thing if you stay." Thinking back to what Bai Yi observed during this period of time with Suliang, Bai Yi was finally convinced and finally disappointed. Suliang is him, but still not him. You are indeed his afterlife, but so what? There is no memory of him, no habits of him, just the same soul. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 714. For Bai Yi, this Suliang is not who he wants at all. "After waiting for so many lives, I still can't wait for you in the end." Whispering softly, Bai Yi's voice was a little disappointed, but he told a terrifying fact. Turn out to be. In every generation, people in white clothes are secretly watching. The young king of men, the young man of swordsmanship, the living overlord, the little junior brother who follows the natural way of Taoism, true Lord Liasu. Bai Yi has seen and witnessed every identity. Even send it off in person. How could it be possible to spy in secret? All I want is for you to come back, but since this is not you, I will send you reincarnation and let the real you come back. So, in the last scene of True Lord Liasu simulation, the figure in white that Suliang saw hidden behind the scenes and led to True Lord Liasu's death was not a dazzle at all. That is true white clothing. And not just Liasu Zhenjun. Bai is still the real black hand that causes the death of every generation. I did all this just to get you back. As long as you can come back and have you again, no matter what the price is, no matter what the final result is, I am willing. It can be said that he is a prehistoric Yandere. When Suliang and others returned to their residence, they saw a smiling, docile and well-behaved man in white, as if nothing had happened. No matter how big their imaginations are and how much they think, Suliang and others will never imagine the truth hidden behind Bai Yi. They would never have imagined that Bai Yi had tested them many times while they were hanging out and dating. How about it? My Beatty city is actually pretty good, right? Bai Yi held Sumo's hand with a smile, completely unable to see the disappointment he felt before. Did you find anything interesting? Well, there are many. Suliang nodded and said, being naturally pulled by Bai Yi and sat aside. Chapter 607 Chapter 606 This is my husband. Kill me to understand. I don't know if it's because the little girl and girl in the simulation are too harmless. As a result, Suliang's vigilance against Bai Yi was much lowered, and some feelings of intimacy were embedded in some of his unconscious actions. In fact, Suliang himself knew that this was not right at all, but this seems to be a habit that has been activated, and it will be difficult to change it in a short period of time. While Suliang and Bai Yi were chatting, Qin Binjiao and others were a little unhappy. What is going on with this woman? She just took our husband away and was very affectionate to our husband. Why do you feel like you are deliberately dragging your husband to hide from us? Look at where you are sitting. There are only 2 chairs placed. It's not that there are no more, but there is simply no room for more. It's clear that he didn't intend for us to sit down together. This is our husband. Bad woman, go away. Qin Benjao and others pouted, feeling very dissatisfied, but remembering their husband's instructions, they still didn't say anything. Forget it, it's just sitting with my husband, there is no intimate behavior, but it's not unacceptable. Lang Jun had said that this woman in white clothes was suspected of being a powerful emperor, and she might have other plans. It's better not to provoke her for the time being, she seems to be no match for her in a fight. At the same time, on the other side, Sul Yang, who was chatting with Bai Yi, suddenly thought of something, took out a bracelet and handed it to Bai Yi. Here, I found this in the city. It looks like it suits you, so I'll give it to you. Gifting such a thing is certainly not a whim. Just when he saw the bracelet, Sul Yang suddenly thought that he had seen this thing in a simulation. It seems that in a certain city, when Xiao Chuanzi passed by a store, he liked it very much, but in the end he did not buy it. And the ancient taboo seems to have been following her. So, did the one give it to him? It seems, not really. Although Xiao Chuanzi had a secret affection for that person, his thoughts were consistent from beginning to end. He wants Xiao Chuanzi to end his immortality. So, the girl has regrets until the end, right? That moment. By some strange coincidence, Sul Yang bought the bracelet and planned to give it to Bai Yi. And at this moment, the moment he saw the bracelet, Bai Yi's face showed a hint of surprise, and he almost cried with joy. Being able to remember to like this bracelet directly is something that only you and him can do. How I wish that the real you, is back. But, even if you knew I liked it, you wouldn't buy it and give it to me, would you? After all, what you want and what I want have always been different. Looking at Sul Yang in front of him again, the smile on the corner of Bai Yi's mouth had a hint of frightening madness. The you in front of me now is very good, it is indeed you, but it is not you. But it doesn't matter. I will find a way. The two of us will never be separated, right? So, from now on, we will never be separated again. Just wait, don't worry, that day will come soon. After separating from Bai Yi, Sul Yang returned to his room and sat down next to his wife, but his expression was a little dazed. Just now, he felt shuddered after seeing the vague smile on the corner of Bai Yi's mouth. Scenes from the simulation appeared in front of his eyes. The experiences of the past few days were vivid in his mind, all connected by this smile. Sul Yang seemed to understand something at this moment. But it seems that he was not caught. Only that smile that was almost paranoid and crazy remained in Sul Yang's mind and could not be forgotten for a long time. Sul Yang, what's wrong? Qin Benjao asked in confusion, wondering what happened to her husband to become like this. Nothing. Sul Yang shook his head, frowning slightly, and kept thinking about the flash of inspiration in his mind just now. But no matter how I think about it, I get nothing. I just feel that there is a deep and invisible darkness hidden in it. It is a feeling that comes from the depths of the soul. This is really troublesome. Sul Yang sighed. From the moment he saw Bai Yi, he had a vague feeling that Bai Yi was planning something big. Then, Sul Yang kept testing, observing, and thinking, just to find clues. The most important thing was to make preparations earlier so that his ladies would be less in danger. But now, it seems that I have missed an opportunity. The next time I want to encounter Bai Yi losing his temper like this, it will really not be easy. But at this moment, the system's voice suddenly sounded in Sul Yang's ears. Final simulation is ready, host is on or not. Final simulation? Sul Yang was stunned for a moment, feeling a little surprised and a little disappointed. Although he had long known that his simulation this time would be the final simulation, he never expected that this day would come so quickly. The system has been with me for so long, and I have experienced many simulations, large and small. Even if Sul Yang has never relied on it, and it doesn't matter if there is no system now, he will always feel a little lost in his heart. But, even so, it still needs to be simulated. At this moment, Suliang felt as if he was trapped in a fine network carefully woven by Bai Yi. He was trapped in it without knowing it, let alone breaking out. Until now, Suliang didn't even know what Bai Yi wanted to do. If he hadn't seen her in his master's simulation and knew that she was the real culprit behind the death of true Lord Liasu, Suliang wouldn't have doubted her at all given Bai Yi's obedient and docile appearance. How to resist this? I'm afraid it might be difficult to even defend against it. The answers to all these should be found in the final simulation. As for this final Cao Thief mission, the final answer to his origin should also be found in the simulation. He went straight to the bed, lay down on it, and closed his eyes. Suliang whispered in his heart. Simulation begins. Simulation countdown for 1 minute. I wish you a pleasant journey. It was obviously the same reminder sound as before, but for some reason, Suliang seemed to hear a different feeling from it. Next moment. Without waiting for him to think carefully, darkness falls and the simulation begins. Outside the capital of a secular dynasty. Just a few miles away, clouds and mist were rolling in the sky, the earth was tearing apart, the sky seemed to be splitting apart, and the whole world seemed to be in turmoil. Such commotion naturally spread to the direction of the capital city. For a time, the city was shaken again and again. Houses collapsed, the city walls were cracked, and there were countless casualties and heavy losses. What caused such a shock was actually the battle between two strong men. Two peerless experts, both of whom are at the pinnacle of cultivation in the world, started a big battle over a disagreement, completely ignoring or not caring about the consequences. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 715. He didn't care at all about the despair and resentment in the eyes of everyone looking in this direction. Even the emperor of the secular dynasty was at his wits' end and did not dare to intervene in the battle between the two parties. As time went by, the battle between the two became more and more fierce, and they both began to move towards the capital. If the two of them were really allowed to break into the city, no one in the entire capital, or even the entire capital, would be able to survive. And in this desperate time, a beautiful figure in white suddenly appeared in front of the capital and blocked the two of them. She glanced at the two of them lightly, and the white-clothed girl's voice was calm, but it contained an irresistible power. Everyone stop it. However, the two people fighting were already masters in the world, with the highest level of cultivation. How could they stop just because of a word from this beautiful figure in white? And see this. The beautiful figure in white clothes shook her head, her expression remained calm and unchanged. Since you two are so stubborn, I won't be polite. Say it. The white-clothed Qianying suddenly took action, and with just a light palm, a powerful palm wind roared away. In an instant, the two fighting men were knocked to the ground, vomiting blood, and injured. In a short time, it was difficult to fight. You are. The moment they saw the beautiful figure in white clothes, both of them were stunned, and cold sweat instantly flowed from their foreheads. Although they have never seen the woman in front of them, how could they not have heard of her dressed in white, her beautiful and cold face, and her astonishing aura? It is the woman in white who has been in the limelight in recent years. When he first appeared on the scene, he set his sights on the Changsheng family. He started challenging the disciples and fought all the way to the end. In just 1 or 2 years, he defeated the entire Changsheng family and almost destroyed it. Fighting all the way, growing up all the way, through various conspiracies, calculations, and coincidences, the woman in white's cultivation has increased all the way, and now, she is almost invincible. However, the origin of this woman in white is mysterious, her apprenticeship is unknown, and no one even knows what her name is. I just happened to see her talking to a man, who called her Xiaochuanzi. This must be fake. How could such a master have such a childish name? For these two people, the most important thing is that the woman in white around them is said to never show mercy. Today they met her and even touched her face. They are afraid that they will be doomed. Looking at each other, the previous hatred and contradiction had long since disappeared, and the two of them actually felt a little bit like they were in the same boat. But just when the two of them were ready to fight like pigs waiting for death. But I heard the beautiful figure in white just say lightly, "This is a punishment, and you two will not follow suit." Hear this. As if they had been granted amnesty, the two of them left immediately without saying a word. And immediately, the woman in white didn't care how grateful everyone in the capital behind her was, and her figure suddenly disappeared. For her, doing this was just a casual thing. What she really wanted to do was to go back to see him. Humph, Brother Suliang is such an idiot. It's okay to follow others. Xiaochuanzi, who had just done a good deed without leaving his name, muttered softly and was very dissatisfied. That's right. It was Xiaochuanzi who had single-handedly shocked the two top masters just now. Several years have passed since he was defeated by the young master of the Changsheng family and was taught the Nirvana method by Suliang. Xiaochuanzi's original qualifications for the holy body were broken and then established. After using the Nirvana method, his qualifications and understanding actually became much stronger, to the extent that even Suliang was a little surprised. And since then, Xiaochuanzi once again traveled alone and began to target the Changsheng family in various ways. Finally, within a few years, he completely defeated such a behemoth. And then, through continuous experience, continuous battles, opportunities, and Suliang's teachings and resource supply, Xiaochuanzi's cultivation level has rapidly improved, and he has reached the top ranks in the world without any worries. But even so, in front of Suliang, Xiaochuanzi was still like the girl she was a few years ago. She is well behaved, gentle, and soft, and occasionally acts coquettish and naughty. It can be said that it is difficult not to be attracted by her. And the only difference from before is that he seems to be more attached to Suliang. Moreover, he was extremely wary of everyone who appeared around Suliang, as if he was afraid that they would snatch Suliang away. Her attitude always makes people feel that one day she will surpass Suliang, not to end his immortality, but to lock him in a room only for herself. But Xiaochuanzi thought it was nothing. I have experienced life and death once, and experienced the feeling of leaving him forever and never having him again. She never wanted to experience such profound pain again. Therefore, this is also my love for him, although he seems to have never accepted it at all and does not appreciate it at all. Thinking of this, Xiaochuanzi felt a little troubled. You have been following people to protect them, but suddenly you said that they don't need protection anymore. Xiaochuanzi thought to himself as he hurried towards home. Obviously, he was very dissatisfied with Suliang's actions. Brother Suliang is so annoying. I haven't seen him for a month or two. I miss him too, okay. Although I had rarely seen Suliang before, I knew that he was by her side to protect me, and that he had never left her side, so it didn't matter if I didn't meet him. But this time, he actually left her. Huh, after you go back this time, you must keep pestering him so that he can never leave your sight, forever and ever. Anyway, I'm already so powerful. Apart from him, no one is my opponent. I should have accomplished his goal, right? Xiaochuanzi recalled his experiences in the past few months. Following Suliang's instructions, he searched for strong men in the world to challenge them and defeated them easily. He was called invincible. I must have agreed with his request. In this case, can I stay with him confidently and never leave again? When thinking of that scene, Xiaochuanzi couldn't help but want to laugh out loud. Being with him day and night, opening and closing your eyes is all him, isn't this so happy? I can't wait for it now. Thinking in his mind, Xiaochuanzi speeded up a bit. And at the same time, Suliang, who had been following Xiaochuanzi and never left, fell into deep thought after hearing Xiaochuan's words. Is it too late to run away now? Xiaochuanzi returned home happily, with a smile on his face that never stopped. Mingming had been planning something before, thinking that when he came back, he would treat Suliang like this and then do that again to relieve his lovesickness. But when things came to an end, when she saw Suliang's figure standing outside the door, waiting for her, she had no more plans in her mind. All I was thinking about was finally seeing him again. Cannot wait. Xiaochuanzi jumped straight into Suliang's arms and hugged Suliang tightly. Hey, brother Suliang, I'm back. Sniffing the scent of Suliang's body, Xiaochuanzi was very happy. It's been a long time since I've had such a hug. Ever since he came back, I've never had one again. I miss you so much. Hold me for a little longer, I like it. Okay, that's almost it. It's not been a long time since we last met. Suliang patted Xiaochuan's little head, pulled her to sit aside, and pointed to the still warm tea on the table. Drink, enlightenment tea. Immediately. Looking at Xiaochuanzi, who was picking up the teacup and sipping little by little, Suliang's eyes were full of tenderness and helplessness. Previously, when he listened to Xiaochuanzi talking to himself before he came back, he did have some thoughts of just running away. But after all, she was the girl he had raised since childhood. Even though he had always wanted to let this girl end his immortality, in fact, he still had all the feelings he should have. It's just that he is the only taboo, an immortal existence. If he is not a heartless person, how can he be like a stone? Of course I have to pamper the girl I have raised since she was a child. And what I plan to ask this girl to do must be very difficult for her, right? Thinking of this, I couldn't bear to be too harsh on this girl. In just a few years, she has gone from being a fledgling to being invincible in the world. The hard work this girl has put in far exceeds what ordinary people imagine. And when Suliang was thinking alone, Xiaochuanzi held the enlightenment tea and drank it bit by bit. He felt that the taste was really good. It was completely different from the first time I drank enlightenment tea. At that time, although Xiaochuanzi's talent and qualifications were astonishing and terrifying, he had not yet embarked on the path of cultivation. He knew nothing about this aspect. Suddenly approaching the Tao, the natural effect was miraculous. But now, already standing at the pinnacle of the world, his own existence is already close to the existence of the Tao. Xiaochuanzi drinking this enlightenment tea will have no effect. But after all, he brewed the tea himself. Although it didn't have any special effects, it still tasted very good. The little dumpling was very satisfied and happy after drinking. After drinking a cup of tea, Xiaochuanzi looked at Suliang curiously. Brother Suliang, why don't you ask me how your mission went? This was the first time that she had left Suliang and worked alone. Was he really not worried at all? Huh, you don't care about me so much, I'm angry. At least a kiss is needed, forget it, it's a bit too difficult, let's give it a hug. At least a hug is needed to forgive you. No need. Suliang shook his head and said lightly. I've been following you, so naturally I've seen everything. As soon as these words came out, Xiaochuanzi froze immediately. He actually saw everything. Why is this happening? You promised to leave and leave me alone. Why don't you mean what you say? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 716. Finally got a moment to be alone. Although he didn't want it, Xiaochuanzi still knew how to make use of this time. In fact, I didn't do anything too extreme. I just thought about how much I like him and miss him every day. I even made a pillow and doll of him and took them with me. Wasn't this all seen by him? That's all. What Xiaochuanzi couldn't accept the most was, since you have been by my side, doesn't it mean that I have missed the opportunity to sleep with you for several months? If I had known you were by my side, I wouldn't have needed to hug a pillow doll to sleep. Wouldn't it be better to just hug you? This moment, Xiaochuanzi really wanted to cry. No, we absolutely can't just let it go. What is lost must be recovered. I originally planned to be honest and not cause any trouble to him after I came back, and wait until I had completely captured him before talking about sneaking under the covers. But now, I have changed my mind. I'm going to drill tonight. No one can stop me, I said so. Then, that night, when Suliang returned to the room and planned to go to bed to rest, then he discovered that there was a small dumpling hidden under his quilt. And still a complete little dumpling. This scene made Suliang very helpless. If this girl had been a child, Suliang could have been adopted as an adopted daughter. But now, this girl has matured and reached her most beautiful age. The delicate face is delicate and beautiful, flawless and flawless. She is tall and slender, with a proud peak, enough to kill 99% of the big sisters in an instant. The waist is slender and the legs are long and slender, with a little plumpness, which is just right. It is the most youthful and perfect time. Suliang had just lived for a long time and had seen through the world, but it wasn't that he didn't have any emotions. How can this be done? Stand up. Suliang said lightly. This is my room, you're in the wrong place. No, I just want to come here. Xiaochuanzi was very calm and waved to Suliang. Brother Suliang, come on, it's already very late now, we should rest. As soon as these words came out, Suliang fell completely silent. After a moment, he said calmly. Forget it, since you don't want to get up, I'll just leave. Your room should still be empty. Although you haven't lived in it for a long time, I've been cleaning it. Say it. Turn around and leave. No, I've sealed the door. Brother Suliang can't leave. Xiaochuanzi said proudly that as long as the door was closed, it would be difficult to open it unless she agreed. And if you force it open, there can only be one result, and that is to collapse the entire house. At that time, Brother Suliang has no place to live, so he can only stay with himself in his room. No matter how you look at it, it's not a loss. Xiaochuanzi began to admire himself. And the other side. After hearing Xiaochuanzi's words, Suliang fell silent again. I was careless, but I didn't expect that this girl came prepared. That being the case. Chapter 608 Chapter 607, Fighting with the Sky, taboos disappear, and the Emperor is born. Then we can't let her get her wish. Otherwise, who knows what this girl will do. After frowning and thinking for a moment, Suliang sighed. Since there is no way to rest, we can only continue to practice. Cultivation, who? Me. But, I have met your requirements, right? Xiaochuanzi was stunned for a moment, feeling a little confused. No, you still have the most important point. If you can't complete this point, you will never be able to surpass me. Suliang said seriously to Xiaochuanzi. Kill me to understand. Even if you are practicing, you are not in a hurry. Xiaochuanzi doesn't care so much. You can let me practice, but that will be tomorrow's thing. Look outside, the moonlight is just right, the sky is clear and the air is clear, it's a good time to take a good rest with your loved one in your arms. Practicing at a time like this is simply a waste. With his arms crossed and his little head held high, Xiaochuanzi spoke plausibly and confidently. If you want to practice, I will definitely be obedient tomorrow, but today, I want to rest. And, is holding your rest. Because of your words, people have been running around for so long and exhausted. No matter what, you have to compensate them, right? All in all, if you don't agree, I won't leave today. Xiaochuan's attitude was very determined. Then, so Suliang threw him out of the window. So what if he was invincible? How could he be Suliang's opponent? The method Xiaochuan came up with is indeed very powerful. There are very few people in the world who can crack it, but Suliang is definitely not included among them. It is an immortal taboo existence, which may be a little troublesome, but is it really impossible to solve this girl's tricks? How is that possible? Therefore, after a little delay, Suliang untied Xiaochuan's backhands and threw the girl out. Then, a more powerful seal was conveniently reinforced, one that even Xiaochuan would never be able to break. This time, Suliang felt relieved and began to lie down and rest. And the other side, Xiaochuan was completely stunned. Wasn't he fully prepared? Why was he still thrown out? This is unreasonable. It's okay to be thrown out, but what should I do? I had planned well to hold him to sleep, but now I couldn't do it. No, you absolutely cannot give up like this. Suddenly getting up, Xiaochuan knocked on the door. Open the door, Suliang. If you have the ability to throw me out, you have the ability to open the door. Brother Suliang, please open the door quickly. I want to go in. It's so cold outside. Brother Suliang, you can't do this, so will love disappear. At last, Xiaochuan could only hold her good-looking self tightly, shivering in the cold wind, and returned to her room. Snored. Brother Suliang is so annoying, I never like you anymore, forget it, it's okay to lie to others, but it's not good to lie to yourself. Forget it, wait until tomorrow to settle the accounts with you, I will never let you succeed tomorrow. Thinking angrily, Xiaochuan closed his eyes. Early the next morning, when Xiaochuan walked out of the room, what he saw was a table full of food. The familiar smell immediately made Xiaochuan recognize that these were definitely Suliang's handiwork. Humph, he is indeed Brother Suliang, Brother Suliang is the best. Do you know that you made me unhappy yesterday, so you are going to compensate me in this way today? If this is the case, then I will reluctantly accept it and forgive you. Happy, Xiaochuan planned to sit down and taste Suliang's craftsmanship. Since traveling, it has been rare to eat the food made by Suliang, and Xiaochuan has long been unable to bear it. However, at this moment, Suliang's figure suddenly appeared and said lightly, "After eating, come and practice with me. Eat more. Cultivation takes a lot of energy." As soon as these words came out, Xiaochuan's originally good mood suddenly collapsed. What, I thought he made it specially for himself. Unexpectedly, it turned out that it was because I wanted to practice on my own, so I added it in advance. Humph, Brother Suliang is so annoying, I don't like him anymore, let's forget it, I still have to like what I should like. After eating breakfast with an expressionless face, Xiaochuan followed Suliang to the place where he usually practiced. The two sat face to face. Suliang's voice was calm and unhurried, telling Xiaochuan the key points of cultivation. Xiaochuan also listened carefully, frowning in thought from time to time. At her current level of cultivation, simply accumulating true energy and improving her cultivation level would actually have little effect. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 717. He has already reached the peak of the world, and his cultivation is close to the limit. No matter how hard he tries to retreat, the effect will not be great. What Xiaochuan really needs at this moment is the understanding and clarity of the so-called Tao. Only by clarifying oneself and understanding the Tao can one complete the transformation and make further progress. After Suliang left, Xiaochuan sat there alone, thinking carefully. To clear my path, I have to cut off the past and the future. Only when there are no distracting thoughts in my mind and no external interference can I clarify my own way. But the so-called cutting off the past and cutting off the future is too abstract. Even if you are as good as Xiaochuanzi, you don't know what to do at this moment. But there's no need to worry, there's still enough time anyway, just stay with him while you practice. You must take him down before you kill me, Mingdao. If he can't do it, he can only wait until he kills me and surpasses him, and then he can forcefully persuade him physically. In that case, although the result is the same, it always feels like there is less of a sense of ritual, which is very important. After planning everything, Xiaochuanzi closed his eyes again and fell into practice. Time flies. While conquering Suliang, Xiaochuanzi practiced seriously on his own, comprehending the true meaning of kill my Mingdao. However, the progress in cultivation is quite good. Xiaochuanzi already has some ideas about how to kill me and will be able to do it soon. But regarding the strategy of conquering Suliang, Xiaochuanzi made no progress. Even when traveling, if Xiaochuanzi acts coquettishly, Suliang might rest with her. But now, no matter how coquettish Xiaochuanzi is, it's useless. This is not as good as when you are traveling. This is how to do a. Xiaochuanzi was very troubled. She could feel that Suliang seemed to have determined one thing in his heart and persisted until now. Although she didn't know what it was very likely that it would be the opposite of what she expected. In a closed room, Xiaochuanzi closed his eyes tightly, the aura around him was rising, and he looked quite powerful. At this moment, she has reached a critical moment in her cultivation. With Suliang's daily teachings and her own daily understanding, Xiaochuanzi made rapid progress. Finally, today, it seems to have been successful. Cut off the past, cut off the future, cut off all distracting thoughts, and finally be able to clearly understand your own path. However, when the last moment came, a figure appeared in front of Xiaochuanzi. Suliang. Only you, there is nothing I can do. I can cut off the past, cut off the future, cut off everything, but I can't cut off your figure. Can't, don't want to, and don't want to. Without you, even if I realize my own way and transcend this world, so what? Everything is meaningless. Then, standing up, Xiaochuanzi found Suliang with a smile. Brother Suliang, I succeeded. When Xiaochuanzi found Suliang, he saw Suliang's expression was unusually serious. Did you make it? After giving Xiaochuanzi a faint glance, Suliang's aura began to rise and spread. This day has finally arrived. Seeing Suliang's changes, Xiaochuanzi was dumbfounded. What's going on? Why did Brother Suliang do something to him? This is wrong, right? Obviously I have practiced well according to Brother Suliang's requirements and worked hard all the way until now, why does it still end like this? Brother Suliang, what are you doing? Xiaochuanzi said in a panic. Those who have destiny never have a reason to stop. Suliang said lightly. After I understand the truth, I will sit on the throne of God, proclaim myself emperor, and achieve the only immortality. And now the only thing left between you and the throne is me. In addition to being pregnant with the holy body, Xiaochuanzi already has the qualifications to be a so-called heroine who has destiny. Even without Suliang's intervention, she could still have grown to where she is now, but it would have taken much longer and she would have experienced too many twists and turns. Or rather, in fact, Suliang himself is actually a part of Xiaochuanzi's destiny. Suliang didn't care at all, as long as Xiaochuanzi could accomplish what he expected. And this seems inevitable. With destiny, there is no reason to stop until he becomes emperor. If you don't proclaim yourself emperor, there will be only one result. Die. Even if he doesn't die in the hands of the enemy, the fate of fate is definitely not something Xiaochuanzi can bear. but Xiaochuanzi knew nothing about these. And until now, when she faced Suliang again, that feeling arose in her heart. It was as if she and Suliang were enemies of life and death, and they had to make a difference between life and death. As if it was fate, she seemed to have a vague feeling of hatred and disgust towards Suliang. Although these inexplicable feelings have no impact on Xiaochuanzi at all, but it also seemed to make her understand something. She and the person in front of her, whom she loved most deeply, seemed to be enemies. Why is this happening? Xiaochuanzi couldn't believe this result. Obviously, he was so good to her. Not only did he save himself, but he also taught himself how to practice and gave himself many extremely precious treasures of heaven and earth. Although he usually seems to treat himself very calmly, he has always pampered himself, and Xiaochuanzi can feel this. He is obviously his beloved benefactor. But why do I have to fight for my life with him? No, absolutely no such result. This moment, as if the whole world collapsed, Xiaochuanzi subconsciously wanted to leave. However, Suliang stopped in front of her and said calmly, "You can't leave. No matter how you escape, in the end, you will always have to come back here and continue what is unfinished at this moment. This is your destiny, and at the same time, it is also my wish. I'm sorry, but come on, defeat me, achieve the throne, and achieve immortality." "No, do not want." Xiaochuanzi shook his head, almost crying. "If I achieve the throne, you won't be able to survive at all. I don't want this." He doesn't want to kill his beloved benefactor with his own hands. "I don't want to die, and I don't want you to die. Only in this way can we truly be together forever, right? If I really made a move, wouldn't everything be gone? Don't accept it, absolutely cannot accept it." And with Xiaochuanzi's refusal, thunder seemed to be gathering in the sky, possessing the power to destroy the world. Is this heavenly punishment? Was it because he felt Xiaochuanzi's resistance and knew that she had violated the destiny, so he rained down thunder as punishment? This is the possibility that I finally found that can end my immortality, and it is also the girl I raised since childhood. How can it be possible for you to succeed? His face darkened. Suliang suddenly took action and shattered the thunder with one punch. However, Suliang lowered his head and looked at his somewhat red fist, and frowned. "I felt pain, and also hurt. Immortality, it seems that there is really hope of being terminated." And just when Suliang took action to resist the thunder, Xiaochuanzi also raised his head and glanced at Suliang. He was saved again. The power of this thunder cannot be blocked by me at all. Sure enough, compared with him, I am far behind. But seeing Suliang standing in front of him, punching him with thunder, Xiaochuanzi's emotions surged, and he bit his cherry lips tightly. Even he can't hold on to such power for long, right? Looking at it, his breath has weakened a lot. If he continues like this, I'm afraid he won't have to fight with himself at all, and it won't be long before he himself won't be able to hold on anymore. He died to save himself. How could he accept such a result? Struggling to stand up, Xiaochuanzi seemed to have made up his mind. "Brother Suliang, let's have a fight. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator." Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 718. I don't want to fight with you, but I can't stand to watch you die trying to save me. Since we are destined to fight for our lives, one of us is destined to die. That's better, just let me do it. I have already died once, but it was you, Brother Suliang, who saved me. Without you, Xiaochuanzi would have long been gone in this world. So, there is nothing wrong with leaving for you. Only, if there is reincarnation, you must find me back. In this case, I can continue to stick to you, pester you, and be with you. I'm really sorry that I couldn't go all the way to the end with you. Trying to maintain an indifferent expression, Xiaochuanzi raised his sword and stabbed Sul Yang. Although they are all ready to fight me, they have even said they will fight me. But if brother Sul Yang were to take action first, you wouldn't be able to do it, right? Huh, I know you very well. Although you usually seem to be very calm towards me, you actually dote on me. You wouldn't want to do anything to me, right? It doesn't matter, since you can't do it, then I'll do it. I won't hold back, otherwise, it will be too obvious and you will find out my thoughts, and you will definitely not cooperate. Anyway, you are much more powerful than me, so you won't be hurt by me, right? After you attack me with all your strength, I will suddenly stop. That's good, it's as if you really defeated me. In this case, you may feel less guilty. Various thoughts flashed through his mind, and Xiaochuanzi didn't hold back at all, charging towards Sul Yang with all his strength. And the other side. Seeing this scene, Sul Yang frowned slightly. This girl, have you forgotten who is always by your side? Do you really think I don't know what you're thinking? The two of them actually started fighting with their own different ideas. For a moment, under the powerful strength of the two men, the small courtyard where Sul Yang lived seemed to be crushed to pieces. But even so, the two of them didn't use their full strength at all. Even if he is fighting for his life, even if it is for his own cultivation and everything. But Xiaochuanzi still couldn't do his best to attack his beloved benefactor. Sul Yang's idea was even simpler. From the beginning, he wanted to let Xiaochuanzi become immortal. Then, in such a battle, the two were evenly matched, and for a while, no one could do anything to the other. And while the two were fighting, on the horizon in the distance, there seemed to be a large, majestic chair gradually appearing. Just by taking one look, the two of them had a clear understanding in their hearts. That is, the embodiment of the throne. As the two people at the top of the world, as long as the one who survives after this battle can ascend the throne and become the immortal emperor. And the magic is, neither of them wanted this opportunity. But the throne has already appeared, how can it be done just by the two of them refusing? Faintly, from the unknown above the sky, an inexplicable force appeared, locking on the two of them from a distance, seeming to be the supervisor of this war. At the same time, with destiny in mind, Xiao Tuanzi's holding back at this moment seemed to have aroused Tianming's alert. There was a faint thunder brewing, and it was about to bombard Xiao Tuanzi. Under the two-phase attack, even Xiaochuanzi, who is now killing Mi Mingdao, may not be able to sustain it. At this moment, it seemed to be a dead end for her. Although he had been prepared for it long ago, at this moment, Xiaochuanzi still felt a little panic and hesitation. Just die like this, don't. I haven't really been with him yet, and I haven't made him my husband yet. Why, even though we could be with him forever, why did things become like this? Biting her cherry lips, Xiaochuanzi showed a sad smile to Sul Yang, and then gave up resistance. And this moment, along with Sul Yang's attack came the gleam of thunder in the sky. After taking a deep look at Sul Yang again, Xiaochuanzi closed his eyes. I will keep you in my heart at the last moment, and I will never forget you even after reincarnation. However, after waiting for a long time, the destructive attack that was supposed to come has not yet arrived. Under doubt, Xiao Tuanzi opened his eyes, only to see Sul Yang standing in front of him, looking at him helplessly. And behind Sul Yang, the thunder kept bombarding, but he was able to resist it all by himself. However, despite this, Sul Yang did not show the slightest discomfort. You girl, you knew you were going to do this. Sul Yang shook his head helplessly and looked at the throne. Go, ascend to the throne, and become the great emperor. Only in this way can you survive and end my immortality. But, you. Xiaochuanzi immediately wanted to refuse. If the price for me becoming the great emperor is your departure, then I would rather not do it. It doesn't matter, I also have a way to become emperor, don't worry about me. Suliang said with a smile. But little Tuanzi didn't know that he just voluntarily gave up the qualification to be emperor. Only in this way can Xiaochuanzi survive and end his own immortality. After hearing Suliang's words, Xiaochuanzi felt relieved. Ever since he was a child, he has never lied to himself, except for the last time he said he was gone. Moreover, my true love is omnipotent. He said there is a way, there must be a way. You must become emperor. Xiaochuanzi told Suliang seriously, then slowly walked up to the throne and sat on it. This moment, the heaven and earth shook, the sun and the moon rotated, and the whole world was trembling, as if to congratulate the new emperor for his appearance. Immortal light emerged from Xiaochuanzi's body and spread all over her exquisite body, making her achieve true immortality. The aura suddenly changed and became ordinary. The aura was elusive and hard to find, and it seemed that it was not even sure of its existence. But standing in front of Xiao Tuanzi, the majestic and domineering aura like an emperor facing the entire world was impossible to ignore. It was at this moment. The thunder dissipated, but Suliang's figure gradually became illusory. Since Xiaochuanzi has achieved immortality, his immortality should naturally disappear. Since it is a fight for life, the winner will be crowned emperor, while the loser will die and disappear in this world. Suliang knew this very well. He voluntarily gave up his qualifications to be emperor, and in fact he also gave up his own life, in order to allow Xiaochuanzi to truly end his immortality. Maybe, but more importantly, he wanted to save this girl. She has been with him since she was a child, and until now, she has always paid attention to her feelings for him. Human beings are not grass and trees, how can they be ruthless? And the other side. Xiaochuanzi, who had just proclaimed himself emperor and had not had time to sense his own changes, panicked when he saw Suliang's dissipating figure. Brother Suliang, what's wrong with you? Xiaochuanzi hurriedly came to Suliang's side and hugged him tightly. However, as soon as he came into contact with Suliang, Xiaochuanzi understood everything. Any way to become emperor is a lie to yourself. In order to save me, you actually. Why did things become like this? It was clearly agreed that I would take your place, it was clearly me who entered reincarnation. But why, I still have to lose you? Tears flowed down bit by bit, and Xiaochuanzi fell into a daze. Silly girl, why are you crying? This is the result I asked for. Chapter 609 Chapter 608, Recasting Reincarnation, by Yi's Purpose. Suliang smiled faintly, looking at the crying little dumpling with pear blossoms and rain in front of him, and actually felt a little bit reluctant to give up. Immortal for countless years, now that it has finally come to an end, there is still some concern left. This feeling is really a bit subtle. It's really good. Gently wiping away the tears from the corners of Xiaochuanzi's eyes, Suliang's figure completely disappeared at this moment. Now, the taboo disappears and the emperor is born. But the newly born emperor has already fallen into darkness. You died trying to save me, how could I accept such a result? I will never let you go, no matter what, I will find you back, keep you by my side, and be with you forever. Next time. I will never give you a chance to leave again, no matter what. Then. To find the real him. Xiaochuanzi has been hiding behind the scenes for countless years, just looking for the similar words. Living at the end of the imperial road, he has dominated the world for 5,000 years. In order to track down his traces, she hides behind the scenes and stays with him in every life. Even. Don't hesitate to send him on his way. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 719. In order to find the real him, Suliang died in every life. Scenes flashed by, including the young human king, the swordsman boy, the living overlord, the junior disciple who followed the natural way of Taoism, true Lord Liasu. A beautiful figure in white clothes always seems to appear. Every death, every farewell, you can see that beautiful figure in white. Until now, this beautiful figure in white clothes finally greeted Suliang at this moment in Beatty City. After exiting the simulation, Suliang opened his eyes and felt cold sweat dripping down his forehead. After many simulations, although most of them were knives, there were regrets, but overall, it was still normal. But this time the simulation made Suliang feel a little bit frightened. Fighting for the life of his beloved benefactor, holding his benefactor in his arms, and watching his beloved die in his arms, Suliang had not seen this kind of scenario before. But is it okay if Bai Yi turned black later? With the appearance of a great emperor, he has been hiding behind the scenes for countless years, just to find that similar flower. For this reason, he even sent him to reincarnation again and again. On the surface, the young king and the swordsman boy seem to be resolutely reincarnated for the sake of the one they love. But behind them, the figure of the great emperor in white could be vaguely seen. This is simply a prehistoric Yandere. In order to find the person in her heart, Bai Yi would do anything, right? Then what I am now, his. Suliang took a breath of air and felt that he might be in danger. He sent each reincarnation with his own hands, just to find the person in his heart, but he never did it, and the current Suliang was completely different from the ancient taboo. If the ancient taboo is not brought back, Bai Yi will never give up. This persistence has reached a morbid level, turning her into a Yandere. In order to bring back the ancient taboo, she would definitely take action against Suliang. As a great emperor, Suliang did not think that he was the opponent's opponent. Even if his wives were included, it was still a matter to be verified whether he had the power to fight back. This time, it's troublesome. With a sigh, Suliang rubbed his eyebrows and kept thinking about the solution. He couldn't even tell his wife about his findings and thoughts. A great emperor was paying attention to him all the time, for fear that she would hear whatever he said. At that time, if you stimulate her and make her take action in advance, you will be in trouble. Only, there was one thing that Suliang still couldn't figure out. In every previous life, Bai always hid behind the scenes. Although he was the culprit of death, he never came forward in a big way. But at this moment, she appeared in front of Suliang. It didn't seem to fit in with her usual behavior. Are there any new plans? Vaguely, Suliang felt that this should be a key. However, I couldn't imagine it. Never mind. Just relying on yourself, no matter how much you think in vain, will not help. Why not talk to her first while Bai Yi has not yet broken her face? Suliang had never thought about using words to convince a Yandere who had been sick for thousands of years, but at least he should try to get some clues and information first so that Suliang could make more preparations. Then, Suliang stood up directly and came to the door, intending to have a chat with Bai Yi. Have to say, the feeling of face-to-face communication with a person who is determined to kill himself and who is infinitely more powerful than himself is really a bit subtle. Even for Suliang, it was difficult to maintain absolute composure. He had to at least prepare in advance. However, to Suliang's surprise, as soon as he opened the door and walked out of the room, what came to him was Bai Yi. "Where are you going?" Bai Yi asked curiously, but there was a sense of impatience in his eyes. "Can't wait? What does she want to do?" Suliang noticed Bai Yi's hidden emotions, and his heart sank, feeling a little confused. But on the surface, he still pretended to be calm and said with a smile, I planned to go talk to you, but I didn't expect to meet you here. Talk to me. Bai Yi was stunned, as if he was unprepared for Suliang's attitude. But then, she showed a smile. Okay, why don't we go for a walk? Although I don't know why he decided to come and talk to me, it actually suits my needs. I plan to have a good chat with you to confirm something. As for Bai Yi's request, Suliang naturally nodded in agreement. Stay away from your ladies, no matter what happens, they will not be involved. This is also in line with Suliang's thoughts. Then, the two hit it off immediately, chatting all the way, and actually reached the highest point of the hall. From here, you can overlook the entire Beatty city. Look, how is my Beatty city? Bai Yi smiled and pointed at Beatty city below and asked. This is the first time she has asked Suliang this question. The previous times, Suliang just said it was okay in a polite way, not understanding the true meaning. But this time, after experiencing the simulation and standing here overlooking the city again, Suliang finally understood something. This Beatty city is actually made up of fragments piece by piece. During the years when the girl was traveling, every city she walked through with him, every inn she stayed in, every store she ate in, every trace she left behind. Suliang, who knew nothing about this before, of course couldn't see anything. And this time? Well enough. Suliang nodded, and his answer was not much different from the previous times. It was not what she wanted. Suliang had no intention of lying, nor did he think he could deceive an emperor. As long as you like it? Bai Yi responded to Suliang with a smile as before. And immediately after falling from the highest point, Bai Yi took Suliang to a small courtyard in the center of the palace. Pushing open the courtyard door, Suliang took a look inside and felt a little emotional. This was clearly the small courtyard where the girl and he lived. They are exactly the same, there is no difference at all, and there are still traces of human life. Come to think of it, Bai Yi has always lived here, right? How do you feel about this yard? Bai Yi asked with a smile. Ah, very good. Suliang nodded and just told the truth. However, after hearing Suliang's words, Bai Yi's pretty face sank, feeling very disappointed, and murmured softly. Sure enough, you are not him. I'm just me. I didn't know you before. No matter who you are looking for, it won't be me. Suliang was silent for a moment and said in ambiguous words. How can people who have left come back? Impossible. Bai Yi shook his head and looked at Suliang seriously. Okay, I will bring you back soon. After hearing this, a thought flashed across Suliang's mind, as if he had realized something. Frowning, Suliang shook his head. I will just be me and not become anyone else. Even if that person may be his previous life, he can still be counted as himself. Your refusal is of no use. Bai smiled slyly, like a successful little fox. Now that the time, place, and people are favorable, it's time for me to bring you back. I'm sorry it's so late, but don't worry, I'll be right here. While speaking, Bai Yi slowly stretched out his hand towards Suliang. This moment, Suliang was shocked and felt a huge sense of crisis coming over him. Without enough time to react, Suliang quickly retreated, and in just an instant, he was completely away from Bai Yi. You won't die, but you will be very dangerous. A mysterious feeling enveloped Suliang, causing cold sweat to flow from Suliang's forehead almost instantly. Unlike the previous Bai Yi who was very docile and respectful to him, Suliang could feel that the current Bai Yi really wanted to attack him. Why hide away? Bai tilted his little head and looked at Suliang in confusion. Do you want to leave me again? Just like before, if you lie to me and say you have a way to become emperor, you'll be fine. But in the end, he left me for so long. This time, no matter what, I will not let you go. His eyes were gradually filled with morbid persistence and longing, and a big smile appeared at the corner of Bai Yi's mouth. Come on, come back to me and be with me forever, isn't it good? What has been lost will never come back. You should wake up. Suliang frowned and said, sighing slightly in his heart. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 720. In the end, it really came to this point. How to fight against an emperor who is in full swing and almost crazy. There is no need to fight at all. Fortunately, he had brought Bai Yi to a faraway place. At least, he wouldn't have to worry about his ladies arriving in the short term. This is a blessing in misfortune. But the next moment, the smile on Bai Yi's face suddenly faded. His expression gradually became cold, retaining only a trace of tenderness. Bai Yi looked at Suliang and murmured to himself. Indeed, it's time to wake up. You haven't come back yet, and it's not you now. Only when you come back can you stay with me forever and never leave again. In this case, I can't delay it any longer. And when the sound of the last word fell, the whole world seems to have undergone drastic changes. The earth trembles, the sun and moon lose light, mountains and rivers flow backwards, and stars and rivers collapse. It's like a doomsday scene. All the surrounding scenes disappeared, leaving only boundless loneliness and desolation. Qin Benjiao and others appeared not far from Suliang with confused expressions, looking at the scenery in front of them, not knowing what had changed. But in the deepest part of this desolation and loneliness, there is a tall and majestic chair placed high up. That's the imperial throne. When Bai Yi proclaims himself emperor, he sits on the position that symbolizes the existence of the great emperor. I'm afraid this moment, this place, is the reality here, and the white clothes in front of me are the real white clothes. Recovering the majestic posture of the great emperor, Bai Yi looked at Suliang and said lightly. Now, the time, place, and people are favorable, and I want to reinvent reincarnation. Although he didn't give a reason, Suliang understood Bai Yi's thoughts instantly. Recast reincarnation, reverse yin and yang, and bring everything back to the beginning. In this way, this will allow Suliang to return to the time of ancient taboos and resurrect him. Recast reincarnation and awaken the real him. It seems that this idea seems extremely outrageous and simply impossible to achieve. But if a great emperor takes action himself and prepares for countless years, and now he has gathered the right people at the right time and the right place, how could there be any reason or possibility for failure? And if Bai Yi succeeds, what happens to Suliang is a trivial matter. When the time comes, I'm afraid the world will be in chaos, with people in ruins and countless casualties. In order to get back the person you love, you have to do such a big thing? How could it be allowed? Whether it's for himself, his wife, or Bai Yi, Suliang will never allow such a thing to happen. Stop it! Suliang hurriedly shouted, trying to get Bai Yi to stop. Do you know the consequences of doing this? If she really succeeds, she will become the biggest sinner in the world and bear all the sins. I know, but so what? Bai Yi just glanced at Suliang lightly, his eyes gradually softened. There was a smile on the corner of her mouth. Bai Yi was obviously looking at Suliang as he spoke, but it always made people feel as if her gaze had traveled through the long river of time and space and saw the figure at the end of time. I know you won't be happy if I do this. But, I want you back. As long as you come back, continue to be by my side. No matter how you scold me or punish me, it doesn't matter to me. As long as I have you, as long as it's you, you don't have to worry about anything else. Hear this. Suliang frowned, his expression extremely solemn. Judging from Bai Yi's posture at this moment, if she just uses words, I'm afraid she won't be able to convince her anyway. If you want to make her stop, you must use absolute force. But how could they have absolute force? This is a great emperor, even though Suliang's current strength is higher than that of his wives, far beyond the limit of the world. But facing a great emperor, he was still far behind, and he was still unable to catch up. This is simply an existence outside the rules. Once you start taking action, let alone yourself, even your own ladies may be involved. This is how to do. For a moment, Suliang fell into confusion. And just then, Qin Benjao's voice suddenly sounded. Humph, bad woman, no matter what you want to do, you still want to harm my Suliang. In this case, we will never let you succeed. Say it. Qin Benjao actually pulled out her sword and faced Bai Yi from a distance, with a firm expression and a resolute attitude. Qin Benjao never resisted anyone who appeared next to Suliang before, even Yuji, who was in a completely hostile camp. No matter how hostile they seemed on the surface, Qin Benjao understood that there was no way they could harm their husband, and would instead treat him well. But the person in front of her is different. She will really attack her husband. No matter what, we can't let her succeed. After Qin Benjao, Tan Qinjia also stood up with a faint smile on her face, but there was some killing intent in her smile. As a master, I am a step behind my disciple. I am worthy of being my disciple. Come on, we master and disciple will advance and retreat together. It is absolutely impossible to harm Liang. My disciple is not for you to bully. Wan Qing also took a step forward and looked at Bai Yi with murderous intent. I have lost him once, and now that I have been reincarnated for 800 years, I have finally found him again. There is no way I will let you hurt him again. After Wan Qing, Ying Chao Ji, Qin Wanyu, Jing Meng, all the way to Yu Ji, and even 11 He Ying and Ji Hongchen, all stood next to Suliang. As long as I'm here, I will never let you succeed. Yu Ji looked at Bai Yi solemnly. She naturally knew that Bai Yi could not win against people like her, but so what? After guarding the abyss for countless years, I finally waited for him again. How could I accept his departure again? Looking at his ladies, Suliang fell silent at this moment. After a moment, he suddenly laughed. Now that things have come to this, what's the use of looking forward and backward? What a great emperor, just a fight? My ladies can face the emperor for their own sake. Then I can do this for them. Moment. Suliang's eyes sharpened and he was full of fighting spirit. Suliang slowly took out his sword, and Reizo unsheathed it. Under Suliang's full strength, golden thunder spread across the sky, and the sword light cut through the sky, as if to tear the gloomy sky into pieces. Give up. Suliang raised his head and looked at Bai Yi. His voice was calm, but his sword intent was constantly condensing. Even if the emperor is in front of me, I dare to kill you. Just like when Suliang was still in the immortal realm, he still had the courage to use his sword when facing a powerful enemy that was beyond transcendence. It seems that you still don't want to come back. Bai Yi shook his head and sighed, seeming a little regretful, but his expression did not change at all. But it doesn't matter, I just want you back. As for whether you are willing to come back, that doesn't matter. As long as you come back, everything else doesn't matter. Even though she didn't say it out loud, Suliang still knew her thoughts clearly. It seems that this battle is inevitable. Suliang sighed, infused his true energy, and his sword intention rose into the sky, shaking the world. He was already ready for battle, and he was faintly trying to compete with the aura of the great emperor in white. As expected of you, even if you reincarnate countless times, you are still the most pinnacle existence in this world. Bai Yi smiled faintly, and then slowly stood up. The time has come, it's time for you to come back. Say it. The jade hands were flying, performing very complicated techniques, and the energy in the body changed accordingly, constantly resonating, and faintly, the whole world seemed to be shaking again. Upon closer inspection, it turns out that it has a tendency of complete reversal and destruction. Vaguely. Suliang's ears rang with countless mournful and wailing sounds, as if the whole world had been plunged into blood and fire, broken into pieces, and all life was in ruins. This moment, Suliang's expression was unprecedentedly solemn. If she is not stopped, such a scene will probably happen soon. Since you insist on doing this, don't blame me for being ruthless. Suliang gritted his teeth and slashed out with his sword. Without using any sword skills, relying on the sharpest, most decisive and domineering sword intention in this world, in an instant, a sword energy flew away, tearing apart the space and hitting Bai Yi's body. Even the great emperor in Bai staggered when faced with Suliang's sword, and the movement of his hand was interrupted for a moment. Seeing this, Suliang showed a smile, and felt a little more surprised. It works. If you continue to struggle like this, maybe it will actually work. That being the case, then he took advantage of the victory and pursued it, making Bai Yi unable to take the next step. But before Suliang could take action, Bai Yi opened his eyes and glanced at Suliang. Immediately, just spit out a few words lightly. Stay away from me, I don't want to hurt you. The words fell. Suddenly, as if the whole world was moving, the majestic power rose out of thin air, suppressed Suliang's body, and threw Suliang out in an instant.